The Titanic launched into Belfast Harbor in 1911. A man at the beach was fined for wearing indecent clothes in the Netherlands in 1931. Here we have a picture of First Lady Rosalind Carter in 1978, shaking hands with John Wayne Gacy. He was involved in politics then. By that point, he'd already taken the lives of over 20 young men. Patience and steam cabinets in 1910. A man armed with a machine gun sits at the Cook County Jail during the 1919 Chicago race riots. Black Sabbath, London, 1973. Point Lookout, Tennessee in the 1880s. It was 1936 when Salvador Dali and Harpo Marx got together. Chicagoans got their first good look at the giant snow cruiser built for the Admiral Byrd Antarctic expedition when it was rolled out of the Chicago construction yards on October 24, 1939. Caroline Kennedy is walking in front of her father, the President of the United States, while he's carrying her doll. This happened in 1963. Howard Carter peers through the doors of Tutankhamun's shrine after he uncovered it in January 1924. Kids are sharing a laugh in Nebraska, 1910. Edward Llewellyn caught the world's biggest black sea bass, weighing in at 425 pounds. He brought it home by himself in 1903. All right, let's see what some of the world leaders look like as children. First up, we have Angela Merkel. She's got light hair and is wearing a dress. She seems to be around the age of 5. Next, there's Kim Jong-un. He's a young boy and he's in a military uniform. Here's Vladimir Putin. He's a young boy, and he looks to be around the age of 12. Now we have Donald Trump. He's standing with a group of other kids. And finally, there's Xi Jinping. He is wearing a suit. A Victorian home being moved by boat in Tiburon, California in 1957. U.S. cavalry soldiers are posing in front of a sequoia in Yosemite, known as Grizzly Giant in 1900. Teenage James Dean in the late 40s when he played on his high school's basketball team. By all accounts, he was pretty good. Two are gray, one is black, and one is white. They all look very eager for their meal. During a heat wave in London in 1929, 2 wax department store mannequins melted. The Four Courts exploded during the Irish Civil War in 1922. It was 1967, and the Patrouille Suisse, that amazing acrobatic team of the Swiss Air Force, were putting on a show. They were right in front of the Alps, and they were just finishing a loop. What a sight! A Maori woman with her son in the 1890s New Zealand. Actor James Garner leads the pack of Formula Ones in a still from the 1966 film Grand Prix. It was the first film to capture the thrill of the track by mounting a camera on a car. Young ladies, late 19th century. A Marine sergeant feeds an orphaned kitten. It's 1944. Fritz the Bulldog, a TV celebrity, is being groomed by a barber in 1961. Eugen Sandow, the father of modern bodybuilding, in 1894. A 14-year-old is crying over a body. It's Jeffrey Muller, and he was shot by the Ohio National Guard in 1970. This photo shows some really happy veterans heading toward the harbor of Le Havre, France. They were the first to be sent home and discharged under the Army's new point system back in 1945. What a great day that must have been. All right, inside Big Ben, or Elizabeth Tower in London in the 1920s. American Marine Corps Private First Class Natalie Slack and American Marine Corps Corporal Dean L. Stidham on the deck of the... All right, so this is about a French device from the 1930s that was used for washing and massaging breasts. North Korean civilians in Pyongyang are looking at the damage from a bombing by American planes from the Korean War. September 1917. The American Expeditionary Force parades in front of Buckingham Palace. Secret Service agents walk on either side of President Theodore Roosevelt's carriage during his inauguration on March 4, 1905. Women's baseball, June 27, 1947. The 1930s. A young English Victorian lady is posing with her pet cat, circa 1890s. Fred Astaire dancing with his sister Adele, 1906. The first escalator in England, 1898. It was December 21st, 1970. Elvis Presley was at the White House, meeting President Richard Nixon. Princess Margaret is playfully captured here, wearing a smile and the Poltimore tiara by her then-husband, Anthony Armstrong Jones, 1st Earl of Snowdon. There's a Man in the Fog in London in 1935. There's a reader in a cigar factory in Tampa, Florida. He reads books and newspapers at the top of his voice all day long. This is all the education many of these workers get. He's paid by them, and they choose what he reads. This was in January 1909. Pele and President Gerald Ford play with a soccer ball in the Rose Garden, White House, 1975. These are massive shells for the 38-centimeter SKL-45 railway cannon, also known as Langer Max, from around 1918. All right, let's see. We've got a dog and a cat in Paris, circa 1950. A man and a woman are riding a cycling machine in the first-class gym aboard the RMS Titanic. February of 1942, at the Firestone Rubber Plant in Akron, Ohio. There was a conversion. They were changing beverage containers into aviation oxygen cylinders. Dwight D. Eisenhower and General George S. Patton are watching a torture demonstration. It's from survivors of a concentration camp, and it happened in 1945. '90s Walmart. There are so many great details inside this general store. It was a time when you knew your grocer and they knew you. We have more now, but in some ways we have less. Soldiers, interrupted during rehearsals for a drag show by an air raid, were manning anti-aircraft guns at the Royal Artillery Coastal Defense Battery at Shornmead Fort, Kent, England in 1940. Chinese leader Mao Zedong, pictured during his last public appearance before his death at age 82 on September 9, 1976. Pipe for two. Two men are demonstrating a pipe called the Double Ender in New York, June 2, 1949. Back then, if a woman couldn't produce breast milk, goat's milk was the next best thing in 1927. It's about the real-life Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. The author of the Winnie the Pooh books, A. Milne, was Christopher's father, and he was inspired by him to write the books. There's an image of a truck loaded with beer barrels. Around it are men, all cheering. They're wearing suits and hats. It seems to be representing the end of Prohibition in the United States. A young man misses a punching bag in 1910. Two women are showing uncovered legs in a public place for the first time, in Toronto, 1937. The boy received the care of the soldiers during World War II. A Jewish Hanukkah menorah defies the Nazi swastika, 1931. An elephant listens to accordion music, around 1940. The Aviator. In 1903, Orville and Wilbur Wright achieved the first sustained, powered flight. They were bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio, and they built their own aircraft. The photo shows a family bicycle with a sewing machine. It's from the United States, and the year is 1939. Barcelona, 1955. This is about one of the earliest book wagons in the United States, the Washington County Free Library in Maryland, around 1905. Jakob Nacken, the tallest soldier in the German army during World War II, was 7 feet and 3 inches tall in 1944. At work, Kilgore, Texas, 1939. A hot dog stand in Boston's North End in 1937. The first test flight of Pesquera's helicopter happened in 1922. Here are some of the disguises that United States intelligence thought Adolf Hitler might use if he went into hiding after World War II. The guy who created the popular cartoon Shrek, William Steig, based his character on the professional wrestler Maurice Tillet. There's a punt gun, which was used to hunt waterfowl. It was banned because it was just too effective back in the 1800s. The racers are lining up at the starting point in Times Square for the New York to Paris race in 1908. Captain Robert Scott's expedition to the South Pole. The Gramophone and Chris the Dog, September 1911. Construction of the Panama Canal saw workers from every corner of the globe. The work began in 1904. It was difficult as they fought disease in the difficult terrain. In 1907, they hit a peak of 41,000 workers. The Americans dug through land to create massive cuts. They used steam shovels, trains, and dynamite. Over 7 years, they excavated about 240 million cubic yards of dirt and rock. A man is carrying a Coconut Grove burn victim. It's 1942. April 1947, New York. Chirp, that's jazz vocalist Gloria King, is talking about life while getting a massage. The Great River Thames flood. 1928. Adolf Hitler is the best man in Joseph Goebbels' wedding. All right, so there's this guy, James Brown Miller. They called him Killing Jim. Seems he was a real hired gun, a Western hitman, if you will. He was a crack shot, a very experienced marksman. What's interesting is he also worked as a lawyer, a criminal who was also a lawyer. This was all happening back in 1887, down in Texas. An old school public shaming in Times Square way back in 1955.